Welcome, everyone. Wednesday night. It feels weird to be midweek already, one day away from games starting. Interesting Thursday night game, but we're here to break down rankings. I've been doing my rankings all day, and it's definitely an interesting week 8, that's for sure. Especially after all of these waivers processed. I know I still need to make some tweaks to my teams just to field a full lineup. But it should be a fun one. With me, as always, on Wednesday evenings is Luke and Trevor. Luke's rocking is that Peyton Hillis jersey?
Hillis, 2012 Peyton Hillis.
Peyton Hillis. I, of course, have Mr. December himself, Blake Bortles, right here. The man ostracized from the NFL. People talk about Colin Kaepernick. I don't know why Blake Bortles isn't the starting quarterback for the Patriots at this point. And also Trevor's here. Hey, Trevor.
I I would have had my girly jersey, but the dude on eBay did not send it in time, so it was not here.
Okay.
So forgive me.
Is it a Falcons one, or did you go all the way Georgia, or what did you do?
It's a Rams one. I don't have a Falcons type of money. I don't need to be seen wearing that.
We don't have Falcons money on this show. We'll get it though. But yeah, we are going to go over our rankings here for week 8. My top 5 we will start with for each position, and pick out some notable ones, see where I disagree with the rest of the industry. These guys will tell me if they disagree with me, agree with me. Usually there's always a few where obviously they disagree with me, but there's a few where we're just completely confused on why all these other experts in the industry are taking a certain stance. And I'm interested to see where that is at this point tonight. I haven't really looked at how I compared to the rest of the industry yet, so we will jump right into it and I guess find out. But we can just start with my top 5 quarterbacks for this week. Number 1, I have Mr. Unlimited, Russell Wilson versus the 49ers. I have Aaron Rodgers at number 2 versus the Vikings. We can talk about that a little more in a second, but that's shaping up to be an even better matchup than we originally thought. Number 3, I have Patrick Mahomes versus the Jets. No brainer there. Number 4, Ryan Tannehill at the Bengals. And then reigning MVP Lamar Jackson off his bye at number 5 versus the Steelers. So, Trevor, what are your thoughts on that top 5 for quarterbacks this week?
A little unorthodox top 5. Ryan Tannehill slipping in there. Good matchup, don't get me wrong, but usually don't see him in the top 5. Definitely for me, I mean, matchups, we talk about that are always king, but number 5, Lamar Jackson against Pittsburgh. We'll see if his legs can carry him or if he can show some passing ability that he hasn't as consistently as he did last year.
Yeah, Trevor, I agree with you. I'll just say right off the top here, guys, I just had some ghost pepper salsa, so my takes might be a little spicy.
Oh, spicy takes. I like it.
Like you said, the obvious, not big name there is Ryan Tannehill. I kind of agree with it. The matchup, Trevor, just like you said, matchups are king in fantasy football. I don't know if I like Lamar Jackson at 5. I know he's got the name. I know he's the reigning MVP. I think that Pittsburgh's defense is legit. It's elite. I think, and the way to stop a running quarterback is to blitz, and Pittsburgh just blitzes like no tomorrow. I'd even go out of my way to say Justin Herbert might finish a top 5 week this week, just after seeing what he did against Jacksonville last week. And Denver, not that great of a pass defense for a rookie quarterback who likes to sling the ball.
I completely agree with that, and I was definitely struggling with where to rank Lamar Jackson. He's played just one game against the Steelers last year. I believe they must have played week 17 or something, where they rested Lamar Jackson or something. Didn't have a good showing against him. Ran for 70 yards, I believe. And I think he threw 3 interceptions against him. So, yeah, I think I'll probably end up moving lower before the end of the week. My thing is I just didn't know where or who, rather, to put above him. I didn't really trust Tom Brady against the Giants. This feels like a trap spot to me. I think the Giants are better than we give them credit for. I like the Justin Herbert call, especially against that Denver pass defense, which is very good. And it's clear you need to pass to beat Denver. So I do like that call quite a bit. Who is jumping out as notable that we should talk about here? Cam Newton's a good one. Cam Newton, obviously benched last week, was absolutely horrendous. I know he got me negative fantasy points in my starting lineup. I have him all the way up at 13, and I think it's probably a bold call. I can look. Yeah, I'm 3 spots higher than the consensus. It's still a little bit surprising to see everyone fairly high on him. Quarterback 28 last week. It just feels like it has to be a bounce back week for New England, but even if it's not, his running ability makes him borderline QB1. Um, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Luke? I know I can tell you his finishes for the year, despite having a pretty poor year except for the Seattle game. He's finished as quarterback 6, quarterback 2, quarterback 28 against the Raiders. He was quarterback 11 against the Broncos, even though that was a bad game. And then, like I said, 28 last week. So in terms of him being up at quarterback 16 for me, or not 16, what did I have him? 13? 13.
13.
Is that too high, or what's your thoughts on Cam Newton here?
This is, a tough ranking for me. I'm probably one of the biggest Cam Newton fans you'll find around. But the guy, to me, just sucks this year. His big thing, like throughout his career, is he never puts like any touch on his passes. It's all just firing as hard as he can into really tight windows and getting big receivers to help him out. Now, on the flip side of that, he could do that because he can score running the ball with his legs. That's where it comes into play. I don't think Cam Newton's having a great year, but I also think Buffalo is one of the most overrated teams in the league, in my opinion. I don't think that defense is as good as everyone thought it was going to be week 1. So this seems like a toss-up game for me. I think, like you said, it probably has to be a bounce-back game for New England if they want to stay relevant. So I would imagine Belichick tries to play at least a little conservative, get Cam Newton doing what he does best, making short throws, maybe running a little couple gadget plays for him. So I could see the 13 ranking. It's just hard for me because Cam Newton hasn't been good, but also Buffalo hasn't been great.
I think his running ability is good. I also believe Buffalo is overrated. The thing that sticks out to me, though, is if you're Buffalo, you really only have to play well for a couple drives. Because if Cam Newton, if you can get him to struggle for a couple drives, he's going to have a short leash for sure. And so if they can put pressure on him, if they can just attack, Stidham will be in there. I don't think in the first quarter, but there's a chance he could get in there. So who knows? Maybe this defense just goes after him. But, yeah, Luke, to your point, he's never put a touch on his balls, on his passes. And, man, I just wonder, that car crash he was in, how much that really hurt his arm. Because ever since then, his passing, it's just not been what it was. It was never great. But now, I mean, you could argue it's below average, if not average.
That definitely seems fair. I have never been a Cam Newton believer. So I never thought he was a good passer by any means. It's similar, I guess, in the way that I think Kyler Murray's a horrendous quarterback. I think they're great athletes. Cam Newton just isn't a good quarterback to me. But this week, to your point, completely fair. He has to have a short leash. There's no way that Bill Belichick rolls 4 quarters with a struggling Cam Newton against the Bills, who clearly are their competition to, biggest competition, at least to win the division. But I would assume Patriots come out and use their running backs so much in the passing game just to get Cam Newton really easy completions, get him in a rhythm early, build his confidence, and then I guess try to go downfield. But even still, Patriots just don't really have the playmakers for that. It just seems like a West Coast Cam Newton should be capable of it against Buffalo. Another notable, I guess, making his NFL start debut is Tua Tagovailoa. I have him at number 22 against the Rams. There's just not much for me to love about Tua. And like just as a number, to me feels high, but that's also just putting him above Nick Foles, Philip Rivers, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Sam Darnold, which is nothing. So based on potential alone, he's above those players. But Trevor, do you have any, or I guess, what are your expectations for Tua in his debut here?
I have none. I've been vocal since they said he was going to start this game that this is a horrible idea. Not only has Fitzpatrick been doing very well lately, his first game is really going to be against Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and this defense. I mean, what are you thinking? I mean, this dude is less than a year off of probably arguably one of the most horrific injuries in college football history in the 2000s. And you're going to throw him in against these guys? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. At best, I see him running for his life. At worst, and I think very likely, he might not finish the game, whether due to injury or due to Fitzpatrick coming in. I don't understand it, but I do agree at 22 just because his legs and the potential definitely should have him ranked higher than those guys that you listed.
Yeah, Trevor, I totally agree with you. You took the words right out of my mouth. One of my roommates just picked up Tua Tagovailoa is going to start him this week. They got someone on a bye, whatever. I told him that I think Aaron Donald might be in the backfield more times than Tua gets completions this week. It just seems like a horrible week to start. You know, the future of your franchise. You just got to hope that the offense line is going to protect him. I know it's a hard hope against a good defensive line, probably the best player in football. But, I mean, I'm not expecting much out of Tua this week. I think if you have him on your team, this is absolutely not a not start for you this week.
You guys took the words out of my mouth. It just doesn't make sense for this to be his first start. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're thinking. On top of that, they're in a position to actually make a run at the division. Ryan Fitzpatrick's playing well. So I'm not sure why they did this. Clearly, they came to the season with the thought in mind after the bye, we're going to start Tua. Because of the scheduling errors, they moved their bye week up. So I think it was supposed to be week 11. So they were supposed to have a few more weeks, presumably be out of the division race, and then start Tua. And I think their schedule had it where it was going to be maybe Jets bye than the Jets or something, which I guess looks better than, first start as against Aaron Donald and the Rams. But yeah, I don't have I have zero confidence in Tua. I also don't think he is as electric and as good as Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert, who, we're all super excited. Hey, these rookie quarterbacks are coming and playing really well. I think Tua's number 3 out of 3. So my expectations are low, and I hope I'm surprised, but I'm not banking on it. Looking at the rest of the industry, quarterbacks never usually super different, and it's the same here. I am 3 spots higher on Cam Newton. Like we said, I have him at 13. Industry consensus is 16. The other one I'm higher on is Jimmy Garoppolo. I have him at 17. Industry consensus is 16. This isn't me, saying how much I love Jimmy Garoppolo or saying he's a great quarterback. But I think he's a top 20 quarterback against the Seattle defense. And the defense obviously isn't going to have Carlos Dunlap, who they traded for yet. So probably zero pressure. I understand Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have Deebo Samuel, but he does have Brandon Ayuk. He does have George Kittle. He does have other playmakers, and it doesn't take much to pass against Seattle. So I don't know why he is under 20 for the consensus. But Luke, I don't know. Would you say that Jimmy Garoppolo is a top 20 quarterback, or are you with the consensus? I guess.
I think where you have him here around 17 is perfect. Yesterday, the 3 of us that were on were just gassing up Brandon Ayuk. How he's gonna have a big week this week. Someone's got to get him the ball, and if he has a big week, Jimmy Garoppolo is gonna have a big week. The Seattle pass defense not good, and like you said, you can't forget about George Kittle, another one of the best players in the NFL. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's got a couple of weapons here against a bad defense, just based on matchup. I think it's almost inevitable he's going to be a top 20 quarterback this week.
Yeah, and you brought it up, matchups. You even look at Kirk Cousins at 16 against Green Bay, Matt Stafford at 15 against Indianapolis. Indianapolis absolutely dispatches teams sometimes, not all the times, but that tough matchup. Kirk Cousins, he looked terrible against the Packers, so that's about right because they look at the guys after him too, and they also have terrible matchups. So it's not, us saying Jimmy G is a great quarterback, just us saying, compared to who everybody else is playing, he's got the best shot. So yeah, I think he's definitely top 20.
The only person below him that I may put above him before the end of the week is Baker Mayfield. against the Raiders. It's still tough. Um, we've seen more bad Baker than good Baker, I guess. So we'll see where I end up there. Obviously, you can get these rankings at flurrysports.org. You can see it at the bottom, as well as a lot of good stuff. Trevor has a Packer Quincy article blowing up right now for the Packers. Luke's got his streamer articles coming out tomorrow morning, so definitely check all of that stuff out. Do you guys have any other quarterbacks you'd like to talk about before we move on?
I don't know if we want to touch on Joe Burrow at all. You have him in top 10 here. I think, Joe Burrow is an interesting play at top 10. Put a rookie that's not Justin Herbert in the top 10. I don't know if you have any thoughts and you want to give your thoughts on that.
Obviously, he is a safe play for top 15. I don't think there's any disputes for that, just because of pure, just the amount of attempts he's going to have. He's going to fall into fantasy points. I have him top 10 just because I'm not scared of Tennessee. Person I might put above him is Teddy Bridgewater against the Falcons tomorrow night. I need to look and see how I think this game is going to play out. The Bengals game, rather. Now that I'm thinking about it, because just flashing forward to running backs, I do have Derrick Henry at number 1. I think Tennessee could milk the clock, which would hurt Burrow. I think I'm going to move him to 11. It's still pretty good. I just like what I see, and I think the chemistry is building between all of these receivers right now. Joe Mixon is expected to be out again, which means Gio Bernard, better receiving back, is in the backfield. Clearly, even more passing attempts for Joe Burrow. So just for the amount that he's going to pass, I think he is a top 12 play. I'll probably have him at 11, though.
One of the guys I was looking at, Baker Mayfield, we talked about him a little bit. He's got some good matchups coming up for him. I'm not saying he's going to take the league by storm by any means, but if you're really desperate, I think he could be a poor man's 2019 Jameis Winston, where he just throws so much crap, and he'll throw picks. Oh, best believe he will, but he'll get touchdowns and he'll celebrate, and he'll be good enough to make you laugh that you beat your friend with Baker Mayfield. So definitely keep your eye out for him.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good call. Any other quarterbacks here? I did say I'd talk about Aaron Rodgers. Vikings just put their best outside corner, which, best outside corner isn't saying much. It's a rookie. He's also not very good. Put him on the COVID list, so Vikings may be without multiple cornerbacks this week against the Packers, against Devontae Adams. It's not going to be pretty.
It's going to be pretty for us, but,
Yeah,
for
3 Packer fans here. It's going to be fun. But, yeah, good luck, Minnesota. Let's go to running backs. As always, we're using half PPR rankings here. So if you do have any PPR standard questions, drop them in the chat over on YouTube. Also, if you're in the chat, definitely subscribe on YouTube. But top 5 running backs for Week 8, I do have Derrick Henry at number 1 at Cincinnati. I have Kareem Hunt, number 2 versus the Raiders. Number 3, Dalvin Cook at Green Bay. He is going to be playing. Number 4, Alvin Kamara at Chicago. And then Ezekiel Elliott, number 5, at Philadelphia. And this is probably going to change as soon as Christian McCaffrey gets ruled in. I expect him to be active just by the way that his production in practice has been the past 48 hours. I would probably put Christian McCaffrey at number 3 above Dalvin Cook, 3 or 4. But Trevor, what do you think about this top 5 for running backs?
I definitely love the top 4. They should always be up there, especially Kareem Hunt with the matchup. 5, Ezekiel Elliott has me a little worried. Running backs in games where it's too good to be true worry me a little bit. He'll have a backup quarterback. You're always worried about, are they going to sell it on the run and let the quarterback pass against them? Who knows? But I think if they don't do that, and if the quarterback can make some passes, he'll definitely be a top 5 start. after all, it is the Eagles at the very end of the day as well. So it's not like they really pose much of a threat. So Elliott's going to eat probably. So I love the top 5. Number 5 I can move a little bit with, but he's definitely, if not 5, 6, or 7.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough to move Ezekiel Elliott out of the top 5 just because what he's shown, in his career. I mean, he's still one of the best running backs in the league. I'm happy to see Kareem Hunt getting his chance again back in Cleveland. Top 5 is good. I think Dalvin Cook's really the only weapon that Minnesota is going to have success using against Green Bay this week. I know you just mentioned you'll put Chris McCaffrey top three, 4, whatever, when he comes back. How does that affect Mike Davis if I own him in a league? Do I need to immediately put him on my bench?
Yeah. If with Christian McCaffrey coming back, maybe he's a little bit limited. Still put at 80% of the snaps. I just think they have to roll him out there. It's all or nothing with him. But yeah, right now, if Christian McCaffrey doesn't go, I do have Mike Davis at number 6, so he's a terrific start if for some reason they wait just one more game without Christian McCaffrey, though I'm not sure if they want to risk losing this game to Atlanta. Right now, I have Aaron Jones at number 7. Again, that's another person. I don't think he's logged any reps yet this week. If he is out, Jamal Williams would be... I like him less this week compared to last week just because I think the Packers smashed the Vikings. So they don't need to pass as much. They don't need his pass protection, obviously, because Vikings won't be able to rush anybody. I would still put Jamal Williams as a high-end RB2 if Aaron Jones is out. And I think A.J. Dillon may actually be a flex play in that case. There's so many running backs to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with. Spent so much time in Seattle, San Francisco yesterday. Let's do that right away here quickly. Chris Carson now getting ruled game time decision. I think that's coachmanship. I'm pretty sure he's out. Carlos Hyde is pretty much playing out exactly like we talked about yesterday. He's not hurt. There's no injury. He had hamstring tightness, and that's because he's not used to playing football. He hasn't played since Houston week 17 or whatever. He hasn't done anything for Seattle, so he got a lot of workload. He's tight. He's getting up there in age. And guess what? Revenge game. I think this is a little bit of a revenge game against San Francisco, actually. I have him at 21, and I'll give it 95% confidence that he plays. And with him in, I don't want anything to do with the rest of the Seattle running backs. If he's out, I guess Travis Homer is the next one up. Travis Homer, also battling an injury. If Travis Homer's out, then it's DJ Dallas, and I want nothing to do with DJ Dallas because he cannot pass protect. He is, if they didn't have those other injuries, there's a chance he's cut at this point. Looking at San Francisco, I currently have Jerick McKinnon 25, Jermichael Hasty 26. We can look at how I'm compared to the rest of the industry, but I know for a fact pretty much everybody else is putting Hasty over Jerick McKinnon. I don't buy the fact of Shanahan saying, oh, this was a planned McKinnon rest week and stuff like that. I don't buy that. But what I do buy is that Jerick McKinnon is a really versatile player. And against Seattle, a team that can put up a lot of points, a team that's not necessarily tough up front, that you don't need to, be super creative with. I think Jerick McKinnon has a really big week. I think he could put up over 50 yards in both rushing and receiving. I think that is kind of bold. It's almost like I ate that ghost pepper salsa, Luke. That's kind of a spicy take. But I do like McKinnon more. But again, I have Hasty one spot behind him. How would you break down this backfield, I guess, for this week, though, Luke? San Francisco.
Like what you said there about McKinnon getting, the certain amount of receiving yards and certain amount of rushing yards obviously piques my interest a little bit. Just because, catching passes as a running back is king in fantasy football. That makes me lean a little more towards McKinnon this week. Seattle's going to score points. San Francisco is going to be in a position where they're going to have to either play behind or they're going to have to pass to keep up. So that gives me more hope for McKinnon this week. I just looked at my waiver wire in one of my leagues. JaMychal Hasty is like the number one ranked running back, and I'm sitting at Mike Davis. I'm kind of questioning if I should pick up Hasty or if something else needs to shake out. So just after hearing that, McKinnon sounds like the better play to me.
I think so. But Trevor, what do you think about these two, I guess, specifically?
I agree with that. I've been a big McKinnon fan since when he left Minnesota. He was supposed to have a big role, and he just tore his knee up. Ever since then, he really hasn't gotten into form. But he, like you said, he's a versatile option. People forget about him. People think he's washed. He's definitely not what he was, but you hit the nail on the head. They're going to be playing from behind, or they're going to be passing to try to match Seattle. They're not going to be able to do that, so they're going to need to keep passing. That's going to spell success for McKinnon. I don't think Hasty will have a bad day. I feel like he'll get a goal line touchdown or something, but definitely if you have to start one, McKinnon.
And just looking at past performances by McKinnon earlier this season, obviously saw a bigger workload in weeks 3 and 4 against the Giants and then Philadelphia. Two teams by no means are bad rush defenses. Pretty good against running backs overall. He had 14 carries in both, 38 yards and 54. That doesn't blow you out of the water. It's still valuable points. But then he had 3 receptions for 39 yards and a touchdown in one, and then 7 receptions for 43 yards and a touchdown in the other. It just feels like that's the type of game we can expect. 15 to 18 touches, with a few of those being receptions, racking up some yards. Maybe he breaks one, finds the end zone. I don't think he's an amazing play, but I think he is. I think you can deal with him as your RB2, and I would love to have him as a flex play this week. Obvious risk built into it, but I think it's okay. Another running back whose ranking probably will change before the end of the week, depending on Melvin Gordon. I have him at number 18. Right now, what's his name? Philip Lindsay is not practicing because he's concussed. If he's out, then it's Royce Freeman backing up Melvin Gordon, which Royce Freeman's not very good at football. On top of that, I love me some revenge games. I think this is a legitimate revenge game for Melvin Gordon. He definitely wants to prove it, wants to beat the shit out of the Chargers team that does or did not want to pay him. So I think if Lindsay's out, how spicy do I want to get here? I think I'd put him at RB 13, 14. Right now I have Gio Bernard at 13, James Conner 14. I think he's in that area, though. What's your guys' thoughts on Melvin Gordon if Philip Lindsay is out, Trevor?
I think he's a good play. At the same time, I think a lot of it will depend on the Chargers. This could be like a Seattle-San Francisco game. Herbert has been nothing short of incredible. This Denver defense is missing some weapons. They're not horrible. They're not going to get run over, but they're going to have some trouble. And if the points start piling up, when they start piling up, Melvin Gordon's touches are going to dry up a little bit. So it's tough to put him super high, but he definitely has a very good floor, like you said, revenge game. And I think Denver is going to play into that too. I think they're going to want him to get the touches, want him to run mad.
Yeah, that's a good point, Trevor. It seems like a week where like this is a Melvin Gordon week. He's a Wisconsin boy. We're all Wisconsin guys. We all root for Melvin Gordon. It's just tough for me. I want to see him do good. I don't think Melvin Gordon is actually that good of a running back. I mean, he won his whole rookie year without scoring a touchdown. I don't think Denver is that good. I don't think Denver is going to keep up with the Chargers. As much as I want to say this is going to be like a 3-touchdown, 150-yard game for Melvin Gordon, I don't see it. I don't think Denver is good enough to play with the Chargers. Justin Herbert, like I said before, just likes to sling the ball. I think Chargers win big in this one. I don't think Melvin Gordon sees a lot of work.
That's fair. If Denver has any chance of winning, obviously Melvin Gordon has to be involved. But to your point, not a very good team. So who knows with that one? And let's stick on the revenge game narrative because there's zero doubt that this is also a revenge game for Le'Veon Bell playing the Jets. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that at this point. I currently have Le'Veon Bell at RB23. Last week, he had 6 carries for 39 yards. Looking at the running back data on FlurrySports.org right now, go to the NFL tab, find the RB snaps. Le'Veon Bell played a third of the snaps last week, 6 rushing attempts, 11 routes ran. Obviously, the line for this game is at like 19 or 20 points. I would take the bold prediction of saying the Chiefs win pretty easily. If the Chiefs get up by 2-3 scores, why wouldn't they just give the ball to Le'Veon Bell pretty much every single time and make the Jets pay? So, yeah, RB23 seems high because of what he's done this year and what he did last week. But Luke, is 23 his ceiling for this week, you think? Or do you think he can be even better than that?
I think he can be even better than that. Just what you said, that this, the spread in this game is 19 points. This seems like a game where the Chiefs are just, the Chiefs have had a little question marks last couple of weeks. This seems like a game where they kick the shit out of the Jets. They'll be number 1 in the power rankings next week. Everyone will be back on the Chiefs. And I expect them to be up by 2 or 3 touchdowns by the end of the first quarter, which means I think a lot of Le'Veon Bell work. Bell went to Kansas City just so he could play the Jets as soon as possible. I mean, this seems like the perfect opportunity for Le'Veon Bell to say, screw you, Adam Gase, screw you, Jets organization. I know what I am, and I'm going to show you this week. And I think the Chiefs will play into that. Why not get the star that you just signed going with this week? It just seems like a big week to Le'Veon Bell for me.
Yeah, and every time he runs, he'll probably think to himself, see what happens when someone who's not an idiot calls plays. And on top of that, I agree they're going to be up by a ton, by a country mile. You don't really need to use CEH because I think CEH is going to be better utilized with Le'Veon Bell now as like a pass catching back. He'll still definitely get his carries for sure. But in this game, it's just going to be a get up quick and just coast. And that's just Le'Veon Bell. Just let him pound that defensive line and basically just show up the New York Jets and basically show everybody, like you said, we're here to stay. We're the number 1 team.
Looking at the rest of the consensus rate now compared to me, I am 6 spots higher on Aaron Jones. Pretty sure that has to do with the injury news. I am 8 spots higher on Carlos Hyde. Again, maybe the injury news. Either way, I think I have him at 21. I think that's perfectly fine. I have Zach Moss at 30, which is 4 spots higher than the consensus. We talked a little bit yesterday about Zach Moss. I think the Bills need to pound the rock in this game. I think they want to make a statement, not only, just to the rest of the NFL, but to the Patriots that, hey, this is our division now. They're going to try to go out there and punch them in the face. Physical runner like Zach Moss is going to be heavily involved. If he has success, it helps Josh Allen as well, opens up the passing game. I think Zach Moss actually has a pretty good day this week. Running back I do want to talk about now, and we did talk about him a little bit yesterday, is Michael Pirine. I have him at 31, which is 5 spots higher than the consensus. Last week, Pirine had 70% of the snaps, 11 carries, 16 routes ran. He found the end zone. Something Frank Gore decided not to do yet this season. It's not that he couldn't, obviously. But like Michael Pirine, I think is going to get plenty of work in this game that is a blowout. Chiefs are not going to be, super aggressive and physical up front if they're up by 20 points. So I think Pirine could have some garbage time production. What do you think about Pirine, Trevor?
I just don't think he'll have enough production overall. I think I'd put him at about 35 at the floor, a ceiling probably at 30, somewhere between there, just because when this game is still in hand, when it's still close, so basically only the first quarter, He'll get some touches. He'll get some plays. Second and third, they're going to be having that false hope of, hey, we're still in it. We're only down X amount of points. And then the fourth quarter, they're going to give up, and they're just going to do whatever they want. So I think P. Ryan is really, if you don't have anybody else, that's great. But outside of the first and fourth quarter, I don't see him getting a ton of work. In those quarters, he will, but I would be a little hesitant to start him if you have anybody that can get you any sort of consistency.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally right. The Jets, like I said, are not a great football team. I think last night when we were talking about P. Ryan, I was trying to scrape at the bottom of the barrel to give him compliments. And I don't know if I want to go down that road again, but, you're right. He's probably going to get some early down work in the first quarter. He might, fall into the end zone at the end of the fourth quarter. I don't know if you want to base like a running back 2 or a flex spot off of that alone. It's tough to play P. Ryan this week just because, so much. It's going to be a blowout. But if you need a running back, I guess P. Ryan, you can just hope for a garbage time touchdown.
I like P. Ryan. I don't know. I'll die on the ship. You guys can tell me I'm wrong next week when inevitably a Jets player fails me. But I think he's one of the safer plays. Like if we're projecting players to get yards and not touchdowns, I think he's safe, which is a stupid thing to say, but I think it's true. In terms of players I'm lower on, not many. It's Latavius Murray. I have him at 37. Consensus is 32. That's not interesting to talk about. And the other one I refuse to talk about, it's lower on Frank Gore, and I'm not going to do it. I'll probably put him higher just to make myself feel better. But we know he's not going to get any production this week. Any other running backs you guys want to talk about here?
Absolutely. Luke, if you don't mind me taking the floor, last week the Gurley guys came to you and they looked you dead in the eyes and they said, Gurley will score 2 touchdowns. And I even went as far to say Gurley will be running back 7. Gurley was running back 4, ladies and gentlemen, at least in my PPR league. I told Zach this. Gurley is so good, he can't stop himself from scoring. Hey, when the Gurley guys preach, you better start listening because, hey, I won't say what I'll do this week, a little tougher matchup Thursday night, not enough time to recover. But, hey, he looked good. He looked about 85% of what he was last week. Or that season.
See, Trevor, the way I look at it is every Thursday night a running back goes off. And what better matchup for a running back to go off than Todd Gurley against the Carolina Panthers this week?
Todd Gurley against anybody, really.
I think last week you said that 5 red zone trips, 5 touchdowns for Todd Gurley. That might actually happen. So Todd Gurley should be your running back 1 this week.
I would like to let it be known I traded for him in fantasy before last week. Hey, he got me the win. So
what
just
did you
saying.
Have to give up for him?
Well, I have a lot of wide receivers. It's a 2 wide receiver league. It was Keenan Allen and Robert Woods because I have a lot of good wide receivers, a lot. I have a lot of good wide receivers. For Todd Gurley, hey, it got me the win for Todd Gurley and some other wide receiver I can't name of. That's pretty good. So far, hey, it's paid off. So just throwing it out there. But Todd Gurley again, agent, come at us. We're speaking your talent into existence. Hit us up. We always got you, Gurley guys.
Like you said, you guys said 2 touchdowns for Todd Gurley last week, and it happened. Todd Gurley didn't even want to, but he had to. He tried to fight, then he stuck it over for you. Last time he played Carolina, RB2 on the week. So 14 rushes, for 121 yards. He had 4 receptions for 29 yards. He scored. So, like you said, Todd Gurley more than anyone needs that maintenance, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. What are you guys proclaiming on prime time for this week?
I think this week, we talked about on the show a lot how Carolina is not a good rushing defense. Usually running backs play very well against Carolina. Matt Ryan still can't throw in the red zone. Still is not that great of a quarterback. I'm thinking 150 and 2 for Todd Gurley this week. Maybe 25 receiving yards as well.
I'll go a different way. Zach, can you please look at the camera? He won't go 150 and 2, but he'll have one of those games where you look at it and go, "That's my boy Todd Gurley." He'll have one of those games where near the end of the game, it'll just be, "Who do you need to call for Atlanta because everybody lets you down?" Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is the man to call. And at the end of the game, they'll just run him the ball. Nobody can stop him. So Carolina he'll get a couple good rushes, couple chunks of 6 and 7, and then he'll get a late touchdown in there, seal the victory. I won't give you rankings because everything's so crazy, but he'll definitely put up a fight, and we'll definitely be talking about him next week. His performance going took our information to the bank about Todd Gurley scoring 2 touchdowns. You put money on it. Hey,
a lot of money, I'm sure.
Slide us some of that on the side. We're here for you. So,
do you guys have any other running backs to talk about while I look up a Todd Gurley prop bet here?
Yeah, I got some. I came into the show before we started. I told Zach, I got a couple questions about my fantasy team. I don't know if you guys would help me out or not. I fell into the trap last week of picking up Latavius Murray and starting him, or trading for Latavius Murray and starting him, because I thought last week was going to be the Latavius Murray week. I just picked up Damian Harris. I kind of wondering what you guys think about those two this week.
Trevor, you go first.
That's tough. The Bills' defense, I think, is overrated, but I think they're going to want to make New England pass. I mean, that's the game plan if you're really thinking about it. Whether it's Newton or Stidham, I don't trust them. I would still probably go Harris by a hair. I'll actually flip that. I'll go Murray just because I feel like this is the game where he vultures one in the red zone from the 1-yard line against the Bears. And with White and all those other running backs in New England, it's going to be tough, but definitely a tough start. You're really in a tough situation there for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely tough. I think I'd go Damian Harris. Also a notable Latavius Murray hater, I guess. Looking at the Bears, touchdown percentage, what is it? Within the 5? What's this key? Let me give you the right stat. Let's see what Pro Football Focus is talking here. Okay, so percentage of touchdowns on runs within the 5-yard line for the Bears is 44%, which I guess is average. I thought they'd be better. Maybe Latavius Murray gets a touchdown. I don't know. I mean, if you had to ask me who has a better chance of getting a touchdown, it would definitely be Latavius Murray for the point that you bring up pretty much any time we talk about New England running backs, Luke, and that's if they get in close, Cam Newton's probably going to take it. So, the higher ceiling, Latavius Murray. Who do I think has a better overall game? I have a weird feeling that it's Damian Harris. I looked up Todd Gurley prop bet, and I gotta say, I think you guys are influencing the Lions because this isn't even worth betting on. Todd Gurley 2 touchdowns is just plus 330. That's not profitable at all. That's nothing.
Hey, whoever's setting the line and is watching us, tweet at us. You know our Twitter handles. You know Flurry Sports. You know where we are. Come at us. We're always happy to talk Todd Gurley, talk those lines with you. So
that's insane. That's okay. And then anytime touchdown, just for Todd Gurley to score, is minus 150. So it's that's just a given. He's gonna follow the end zone at least once, whether there's anyone there to tackle him or not. For him to be the first touchdown scorer of the game is plus 275. That's where maybe we get spicy and put the bank on Todd Gurley there. But, Trevor did say it would be a late touchdown, so maybe not. Any other running backs you guys would like to discuss before we move on to wide receivers?
No, not for me.
Let's jump into wide receivers then. Top 5 wide receivers I talked myself out of Devontae Adams at number one last week because I figured Bradley Roby would be shadowing him. Roby got hurt right away. We saw what Adams did. It's so stupid. Like I'm pretty sure I had the right call, but injuries are dumb. So screw it. He's my number one this week against Minnesota. We already talked about there's nobody to guard him. So whatever. I have Julio Jones at number two at Carolina. People love to talk about the Carolina pass defense. People love pointing out conversations that I had a month and a half ago on Twitter when I said Carolina's a good matchup for the passing game. I still think they are. I don't think Carolina's very good on defense. They gave up, I think, the sixth best completion percentage for quarterbacks. So, love Julio Jones. Julio Jones is going to dominate them. I have DK Metcalf at number 3 versus the Niners. Tyreek Hill versus the Jets at number 4. That's a really tough one to rank for me. We can get into that. And then I have A.J. Brown at Cincinnati for number 5. So, Luke, what do you think about that top 5 for wide receivers?
You just talked about how Carolina's easy to pass on, not a great pass defense. Julio Jones historically owns the Panthers too. Mm-hmm. I just saw highlights of his game where he had 300 yards against them, maybe 2 or 3, 4 years ago, something like that. I think, it's so much more fun having Devontae Adams at 1. I think Julio Jones finishes number 1 this week. I think just because I think the Packers get up big in the first half, kind of resort to maybe short passes, getting Jamal Williams, A.J. Dillon involved. But that's a different story. Something that, just off the top of the head here is something that sparked my interest was DK Metcalf at 3. Obviously, he would have had a better week if that touchdown stood on Sunday Night Football. But before that, he was not having that great of a game. I don't know if Patrick Peterson was on him, they were shadowing him or what. But to me, a Seattle receiver, it's either going to be DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett are going to have big weeks every single week. And it just depends on what the secondary is doing. And I think that could switch every week just depending on who has the big week. I always talk about Tyreek Hill, how he's one of my favorite players. He's becoming very touchdown dependent this year. He doesn't have a game over 100 yards receiving yet, which is kind of concerning. We talked about how Kansas City's going to be up big on the Jets. If that happens, I think Tyreek Hill will get at least one big one. Otherwise, I think he's completely out of this game.
I would agree. And a guy that I really want to talk about is A.J. Brown at 5. He's definitely had to battle injuries and COVID and basically everything with this Tennessee team. And while he has been kind of touchdown dependent in the 3 games, he's definitely been a very big target. 9, 8, and 7 are his targets last 3 weeks. 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown in the last 3 weeks. Against Cincinnati, a team that Baker passed all over. I think Derrick Henry will run on them. But, man, the amount of targets A.J. Brown is getting, he's definitely back. Full PPR-wise, he's getting you 20-plus points every week against the Cincinnati defense. I think that stays. I really like A.J. Brown at 5. Not a lot of people are really putting him in the top 5, but I certainly would.
Yeah, his finishes for the past 3 weeks or among wide receivers, wide receiver 12, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 4. And yeah, great matchup here. While Derrick Henry should be able to pound the ball with relative ease, this opens up shots downfield to A.J. Brown, and they are very willing to take them. Looking at Tyreek Hill, to Luke's point, 1 game, 2 games, I guess, as a top 10 wide receiver this year. Touchdown in all but 1 game, so I mean that's good, but yards aren't there. If they get up huge, they don't need to be aggressive going downfield to him. He's just not. I don't know. He doesn't excite me, but at the same time, he's playing the Jets, and if they wanted to get him involved and wanted to have him have one of those monster days, they could. They just need to decide to, and that's why it's tough to rank him. And consensus, by the way, has him at wide receiver 2. So having him at 4 is lower, and I'll probably move him even lower throughout the week. But check, because if I put him below 7, he's going to go off. I can pretty much guarantee it.
Put him below 7, please, for my sake.
Do you have him? I don't have him anywhere, so that's why I'm keeping him high.
I have him like 6 leagues.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you were talking about how Julio Jones owns the Panthers, and I just want to take a trip back to Week 4, 2016. It looks like Julio Jones, 12 catches on 15 targets, 300 yards. It's like, good God. Okay, only one touchdown though, so whatever.
12 catches too. He's not getting like 10-yard out routes. He's getting bombs over the top.
Right. I don't know how he's only scored one touchdown. It just goes to show
Yeah.
Matt Ryan doesn't want to throw touchdowns at Julio Jones.
That's the biggest mystery in football.
Right? He's been, our Panthers have been pretty good against him recently. Double-digit points in all of the games. But 66 yards, 91, 28, 64, 80. Obviously, completely different defense, so it doesn't matter. Just worth noting. But yeah, Kelvin really destroyed the Panthers last time they played, and Julio wasn't there, obviously. I think Julio has his way. Who else should we talk about here? Um, I've seen people this week going back to DJ Moore over Robbie Anderson. I don't know why we need to try to make that a thing. I have Robbie Anderson at 11 and DJ Moore at 15. I don't think we need to try to get cute and rank DJ Moore above Robbie Anderson for any reason whatsoever. Trevor, do you have any thoughts on those two Panthers wide receivers? They're obviously both good, but in terms of ranking one over the other.
Another reason of why our rankings are the best rankings. It seems to me like fantasy football experts, they were harping on DJ Moore the whole off season. He was terrible, got quiet as a church mouse, and then he had 2 great weeks. Oh, he's back. Don't try to rationalize it. Go with what we know. Go with what is most likely to happen. And what's most likely to happen is Robbie Anderson, top 5 NFL receiver. I don't know if he still is receiving yards, but at least going into last week, I thought he was at least in the top 5. Anderson should be ahead. DJ Moore has proven it 2 weeks. Robbie Anderson has shown it a whole lot more than that.
So what you guys are saying here, it seems like this is a sell high on DJ Moore.
Maybe if you have people buying into the hype that he's a wide receiver 1, I would. I don't get the impression that people are even that high on him. It's just experts are trying to prove that their preseason rankings are right, I feel like. And I don't know, admit that you're wrong. I don't get it. Let's talk about Brandon Ayuk. We talked about him last night. We talked about him a little bit here already. I have him at wide receiver 18 against Seattle. Seattle's terrible. I'm 4 spots higher than the consensus. Luke, tell me why you like Brandon Ayuk this week, reiterating, I guess, what we talked about last night a little bit.
Yeah, so I think Brandon Ayuk this week, how he's going to catalyze this San Francisco offense is going to be what Justin Jefferson did for the Vikings. Justin Jefferson did for the Vikings, get that offense going, crank out a couple wins. I think San Francisco does this to stay. I don't know if they win, but to at least stay in contention with Seattle, try to stay in contention with the best division in football, the NFC West. There, this seems like a game where Brandon Ayuk is all over the field. Jimmy Garoppolo's got to get him the ball because he's going to be the guy that takes this offense off this week. You got to think the eye is going to be on George Kittle. That just leaves Brandon Ayuk there to go against a horrible Seattle secondary. I think they get him a couple deep shots, get him a couple slant routes, a couple bubble screens, maybe a jet sweep or 2. So I think Brandon Ayuk has a huge week this week.
I would agree. This Seattle secondary isn't it. Dunlap won't be playing, so their pressure is still going to be non-existent. The only thing I'm a little worried about is Garoppolo. I've never really been sold on him. But with this secondary, he really shouldn't have to do all that much outside of being serviceable, and Ayuk should be a top 20 play.
And we saw earlier in the season when running backs were getting hurt for San Francisco, they're willing to give Ayuk the ball as a run as well. He's just a playmaker with the ball in his hands, and against Seattle, you need to make plays to win the game. It just seems obvious to get him even more involved after a 115-yard week last time out. And just to compare him to other people, I have him above both Rams wide receivers. So I have him above Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. I have him above Tyler Boyd, above Juju. That really shouldn't be a surprise, though, as much as that hurts. Juju needs to wake the fuck up. This is a message to him. I know you're watching, Juju. Let's figure this out together. I need to get some wins here. Um, I don't know. Wide receivers, we could talk about higher and lower on because there's a lot. Apparently, I am way different than the industry, but I'm not sure. I have Amari Cooper and CD Lamb both higher than the consensus. I suppose that depends on who's at quarterback a little bit as well. Andy Dalton concussed, not practicing yet. I would guess Garrett Gilbert starts. I know it's between Gilbert and somebody else. I just think Garrett Gilbert's a competent quarterback, actually. I think he's fine. I know who I think they should call up, but they're not going to bring in someone to take the job away from Dak Prescott. So they're going to have Garrett Gilbert, who's capable of getting the ball in the hands of Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb against the Eagles. We talked about Brandon Ayuk. As much obligatory Todd Gurley talk that we have, we can have obligatory Cole Beasley talk, it seems like. I'm 5 spots higher than the consensus on him. I have him at 28. Industry consensus is 33. He's wide receiver 22 for the season. The way you attack the Patriots is not with your outside receiver. It's with a slot. That's Cole Beasley. He's a security blanket for Josh Allen. So while Bill Belichick, Steve Belichick throw Josh Allen all these different looks that are going to make him confused and make mistakes, he's going to check down to Cole Beasley, someone he's comfortable with to make those plays. I just think you need to keep starting him. I don't know why people don't want to give him the respect he deserves. I mean, he's number 11 again. He's back to his Dallas days. He's playing well. Trevor, what's your thoughts on Cole Beasley in a matchup like this, which doesn't look necessarily amazing, but it's not a stay away?
Yeah, even if, I think the Patriots are going to struggle, I think the Bills are going to struggle a little bit. And what does that add up to? That adds up to a close game where the Bills are going to need to pass. And you hit it. Cole Beasley is Josh Allen's safety blanket. Stephon Gilmore will not be on him, so we don't have to worry about that. So I see another big game for him. And on top of that, a thing that people aren't really paying a whole lot of attention to, I think he's getting a decent amount of targets because the tight end situation in Buffalo has been up in the air almost all year. So as long as all those things are going his way, I just don't see why people are making him so low. I guess he's not the sexy pick, but we don't care about that. We're looking for points. So definitely look out for Cole Beasley.
Yeah, Cole Beasley will be there. I said last night that it seems to me Belichick is going to try to take away Josh Allen's deep ball. That's probably what he does best as a quarterback. I mean, that just leaves so many opportunities for Cole Beasley to work that middle of the field. We talk. I know the Patriots' defense is a little depleted. A couple players opted out. That just seems perfect for Cole Beasley to do what he does: find spots in a soft zone, take a 5-yard catch, run 15 yards, and get absolutely blasted, and then get right back up and do the same thing the next play. Trevor, I know I told Zach this last night, but we know what Cole Beasley does, being Green Bay fans, watching him play against Green Bay when he was in Dallas every year. And, I mean, he's a solid player. He's going to catch the ball, and he's going to take hits. He's going to get right back up, and he's going to catch the ball again, take hits, get right back up. It's just what he does. I think he's a very consistent play, and I think you should be starting him this week.
Yeah, I completely agree. Watch NFL trade deadline news. Stephon Gilmore is one of those players that are getting rumored to maybe get traded. Surprisingly, maybe, if Stephon Gilmore gets traded, I think I like Cole Beasley less. Because I think Stephon Diggs has a better day. So that's something to make note of, and maybe it's not the way you may think about it initially, because you think, hey, top corner in the league goes away, and obviously every pass catcher is better, but I don't think that's the case. Another receiver here, coming off a really bad week, is Henry Ruggs. He played Tampa, though. I have him at 35, which is 4 spots higher. He plays Cleveland, so I don't think anyone is going to be guarding him this week. We talked about how we like Derek Carr. I think we did. Otherwise, that was yesterday. Days run together for me. I don't know. I kind of blacked out during the Todd Gurley talk. But I don't know. Luke, what do you think about Henry Ruggs? He does kind of seem like a boomer bust option, but it really feels like he's a boom play week to me.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. That he's, it's a boom. It's got to be the boom week for him. It's got to be the week that he solidifies himself as the deep threat. He's like the good young deep threat in the NFL. What's been surprising is Nelson Aguilar has kind of taken over that position that I thought Henry Ruggs was going to be. But if there's any week to get Ruggs involved, this is a week. Cleveland, like you said, they can't really cover anyone, let alone one of the fastest guys in the NFL. Derek Carr has been a lot better than he has recently. He's seen the field a lot more. I think, yeah, you're right. I think Henry Ruggs could see 2, maybe 3 long ones this week.
It just doesn't make much sense to me. Nelson Aguilar, he's had a touchdown his last 3 games. This past week, he had a lot of yards, a lot of targets, but other than that, I mean, it's just been the touchdown carrying him. I don't know how. He will either be amazing or he can't catch a rock placed in his hand. I don't really know what to say. So because I don't know what to say, I'm going to say Henry Ruggs boom game, because it wouldn't make any sense for this to continue longer than it already has. And to be honest, it's frustrating me a little bit because it makes no sense. So yeah, Henry Ruggs boom game. Chalk it up.
And I have Nelson Aguilar at 43, which is 4 spots higher than the consensus too. Clearly, he's carving out a role. Like, he got more targets last week, and it continues to go up. At some point, he needs to have a Nelson Aguilar game, though, and it definitely looks like a good matchup. So maybe it is this one. I wouldn't go all in on Aguilar by any means, but I think the Raiders can pass with relative ease this week. On the other side of this game, Rashard Higgins, everyone was talking him up as like the number 1 pickup of the week after a monster game, and they're not ranking him high against the Raiders. I don't get it. I'm 5 spots higher on Higgins than the consensus. I have him at 36. Everyone has him at 41. Jarvis Landry playing with a broken rib. David Njoku may not even suit up because he'll be traded. Austin Hooper probably still out. Obviously, we know about Odell Beckham Jr. out for the year. I don't know what there's not to like about Rashard Higgins this week, I guess. Trevor, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I really like Rashard Higgins. I can't think of the receiver that's coming back. He was projected to be the number 3 wide receiver between Beckham and Landry for him. I would have to look him up. No, it was somebody else. But either way, he just seems like a guy who's carving out his own roles, or his own role, excuse me. And you got to respect it with OBJ going down. There's definitely going to be a power vacuum. I don't think Landry is what he was with Miami. I don't think he's going to fill that. And I think it's got to be Higgins. I think it's got to be Higgins for him.
Yeah, on our show yesterday, and our pickups of the week, my number 1 was Rashard Higgins. Like I said, I don't think Landry's hurt. Landry's still not a number 1 receiver, even if he's healthy. Tanner said that he liked the vibes going on between Baker Mayfield and Rashard Higgins, and that's what I saw too last week. Higgins has all the tools, I think, to be a number 1 receiver. I don't see, like you said, Zach, there's not really anyone on that offense that's going to get the ball other than Kareem Hunt. So Higgins, the opportunity is going to be there. I think you see a big week out of Higgins this week. I'd say 10 plus receptions, and to do whatever he does at yards after catch, maybe a touchdown or 2 as well. So I'm very high on Higgins this week and going forward for the rest of the year.
The only wide receiver I think really worth talking about that I'm lower on is Devontae Parker, and it's twofold. 1, he plays the Rams. I expect Jalen Ramsey to be on him. We just saw what he did to Allen Robinson, who's a much better receiver than Devontae Parker. And then 2 is Tua. Tua's going to be the one passing him the ball. We have no idea really what to expect from Tua from a pure passing point of view. Like, is he going to be good? And then 2, who does he have a connection with? A lot of times it's going to be the guys he's been practicing with, and the guy he is not practicing with on a week-to-week basis is Devontae Parker, because he's been with Ryan Fitzpatrick trying to build that chemistry with the starters. So, I mean, who's it going to be? He'll probably be like Isaiah Ford or something that he has a random connection with. I just don't see the point in playing Parker, or at least having him too high. I have him at 34, which is 5 spots lower than the consensus. Trevor, do you have any thoughts on him or any other wide receivers to talk about here?
Yeah, real quick, the receiver I was thinking of was Kadarrell Hodge. Apparently, he won the wide receiver 3 role.
He's big guy.
I totally forgot about him. Devontae Parker, we talked about this Rams defense. This is going to be a real problem. This is one of those where I keep him on your bench. If he does good, whatever. But you got to wait to see how this plays out because, in fantasy, you can't get 0. You got to make sure you're scoring points. He could be a real dud. He could win you the matchup, but he's not worth the risk. Other guy I'm thinking about, though, and I'd like to hear your opinions, Mike Evans. Godwin will be out. With Godwin in, he's had a 10% target share. That is abysmal, especially for a 6'5" guy in his prime. But I think this is a big game where if you're an owner of him, after this game, sell high.
I would think so, and Giants are clearly better on defense than they were last year, especially from pass defense point of view. He's going to be playing against James Bradbury more than likely. I'd like to go back and look at past matchups with Bradbury, who I'm pretty sure was the Panthers' corner beforehand. So they should be plenty familiar with each other. We talked about last night how Scotty Miller clearly has the best matchup of the game. He's going to be guarded by Ryan Lewis more often than not. So I think Scotty Miller may be the play here, even though it seems like that could be the chalk. I don't know. Mike Evans should be fine. Like if they need to pass the ball, lob it up to him. He's also clearly playing with an ankle injury, and he's not looking good. I don't know why they haven't rested him yet, just to get him healthy. But they're pretty much driving on a flat tire right now. So where do I have Mike Evans? I have him at 16. I think that's right. He's low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2. If he doesn't get a touchdown, I don't think you're going to be overly excited.
Yeah, I feel like. Sorry, I said I just feel like this is a week where you're almost like stuck playing Mike Evans because Chris Godwin is out. What you're really hoping for is he gets that 1-yard touchdown that he's kind of been doing this year. But like I said last night, other than Chris Godwin, I don't really feel comfortable with anybody on this Tampa Bay offense. It's hard to get one solid receiver for a Tom Brady offense unless you're Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Rob Gronkowski. And so he just spreads the ball around so much. Like yes, I think you have to play Mike Evans, and you're gonna have to hope for a touchdown this week. I think.
Yeah, I agree. And Giants are just tougher than I think people give them credit for. I don't think Tampa can necessarily run all over them. I don't think they can necessarily pass all over them. They're good against tight ends, so I don't know if Gronk's a great play. This is a really interesting game to me. If the Giants' offense wasn't so fucking terrible, I think the Giants could win this game. I really want to bet them, but I don't know. It's a Tampa win, but I'm just not excited about Mike Evans. I'd rather go to Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, guys like that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other wide receivers here? I know one, really quick. Chase Claypool, after a monster week, was a complete dud in Deontay Johnson's return. People may think, or after 2 big weeks rather, people may think this was just a fluke. I don't necessarily think it is. Not that I believe he's a 1-catch, -2-yard guy. I mean, he's just not the number 1 option. He's also not the number 2 option. He's the deep threat, and against a Baltimore team that just I don't think he's the play here. So if you are deciding between even just all 3 of those Steelers wide receivers, I think Claypool is number 3. I don't know where I have Deontay Johnson, but I do have him above. I have both of the other wide receivers ranked above him.
Yeah, I think as far as the Steelers receivers go this week, Baltimore's great secondary. The one, I don't feel comfortable playing any of them, but the one that I think I feel most comfortable with is Juju Smith-Schuster. And I know that's tough to say after not had a great year, but I feel like if Pittsburgh wants to beat Baltimore, they're going to have to use their best players. Juju Smith-Schuster is the best player in that receiving core, one of the best players on the team. I think he sees a couple more targets this week than he's seen the last couple of weeks. And this receiving core doesn't excite me at all. Ben Roethlisberger doesn't excite me at all. So if you have to play one, I'm thinking Juju.
I'm actually thinking Deontay Johnson. Juju is definitely the better talent. For me, though, I don't know how, but it just seems like every game he's been fully healthy, he's just getting a crap ton of targets. 10 and 13 in week 1 and 2 and 15 last week. I don't think that's sustainable, but I mean, he just finds a way to get stuff done. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree on the Claypool, though. He's just not appealing.
Yeah, they definitely made it a point to try to get Juju involved last week, to your point with those targets. It's a tough matchup. I mean, across the board, those Baltimore cornerbacks are really strong. He's probably operating in the slot more often than not against Marlon Humphrey. Pro Football Focus gives Juju a 17% disadvantage. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it's not a good matchup by any means. Let's finish up here with tight ends. And every single week, it makes me more and more sad to rank these tight ends. It's a fucking wasteland. It's bad, and I'll bring up some stats here in a second. Well, let's just talk about this top 5. Travis Kelce, number 1. Don't need to think about it. Just lock it in. Number 2, I have Darren Waller at the Browns. I have Kittle, number 3, at Seattle. Now, this is where it's like, okay, throw whoever you want. I have Mark Andrews, number 4, versus the Steelers. Hunter Henry, number 5, at the Broncos. Trevor, what do you think about this top 5, I guess? More so the top 3, probably.
It's sad. It's pathetic. And on top of that, in my Yahoo League, there are 12 teams, and everybody owns like 2. One guy owns 3, and one guy owns 4. So it's literally names I haven't even heard of that are top waiver wire pickups. I mean, this is bad. We really shit on Gronkowski last episode, and he just laughed in our face and dropped 17 against all odds. So just like with Aguilar, who knows? I mean, it just I almost give up. Trey Burton is at 12. He's looked like a 1A option, even with 3 tight ends. So this week he'll probably drop like 5 points, but it's so tough. I would say waiver wire ad, definitely pick up Trey Burton, though, because even though it's an unorthodox week, you still got to hope that something sticks eventually, and I feel like he will.
Trevor, when you said right there that ranking tight ends is like ranking Nelson Aguilar, it's just not a good sign at all. Zach, obviously here the top 5 tight ends, those are probably the top 5 tight ends in the league. 1 through 3, I think you can rank anyway. I think they're all elite tight ends. I got question marks about Mark Andrews this week, just because I think I said before Pittsburgh's defense is legit. Do you think that Mark Andrews matches up well against Pittsburgh, or are you just ranking him that high because he is one of the best tight ends in the league?
I don't think he's very good. I think he's one of the most overrated players or at least tight ends in the league. I'm ranking him there just because I think he has a chance to score a touchdown, and that's it. Clearly, when they get down to the red zone, they look his way. This is one of the stats I wanted to bring up. Mark Andrews coming into the season, and I think still almost every person would rank it this way. He was the number 2 tier tight end, essentially. It was Kittle, Kelce, and that number 2 tier was Andrews. A lot of people thought by himself, maybe him and Waller, and then Ertz right below it. And he's just not that. He's any other player. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he has been tight end 30 or below. If he has scored a touchdown, he's been tight end 3 or higher. So, I mean, this is what it is. He's boom or bust, and not because the boom is a huge performance. He has 3 games of between 56 and 58 yards. not exciting, but that's a really close sample there. And then his other 3 games are between 21 and 29 yards. So we can pretty much pinpoint what he's going to be this week. He's either going to catch 25 yards and no touchdowns, or he's going to have 55 yards and 8 touchdowns and be top 3. This is what he is, and it's because of what this position is. It's disgusting. I don't want to rank him top 5. I don't know. I hate every tight end except for Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Darren Waller. I don't know. Another one I want to talk about quick. Hunter Henry. I really like him. I think he's a really good real life player. He was considered one of the better tight ends for fantasy coming into the season. He's still considered like pretty much a no-brainer top 10 option. He just hasn't been good, and I don't know. Tight end 14, 12, 17, 28, 10, 29. And a lot of those were good matchups. He scored 1 touchdown on the season. People kind of blindly put him top 10. I for sure do the same. It just goes to show there's no, or I would say tight end rankings, if you look across the league, it's pretty much name recognition rankings. Like, do they have a big name? Let's put them on top. If they don't, like Hayden Hurst, Harrison Bryant, let's put them outside the top 12. And that's all it is, because everyone has any chance to be top 5. Absolutely any chance. Ian Thomas, I have at 28. I give him just as much of a chance to be top 10 as Rob Gronkowski. It's not a joke. It's stupid.
If you don't have an elite option, try to pick the shiniest of the turds for this week, because that's honestly what it is. Close your eyes, throw a dart at a board, do whatever, because it's a crapshoot.
You were talking up Trey Burton. I'm 5 spots higher on him than the consensus. I have him at number 12. And to your point, he is for sure in a tight end committee. He's going to split the snaps pretty much evenly with Jack Doyle. But 5 targets, 6 targets, 5 targets the past 3 weeks. Plays Detroit, not a tough matchup. And he's going to be involved. They did give him a run, which he took for a touchdown. He is just going to be a gadget player. He's going to be involved. And I think he is a legitimate tight end 1, as strong as that label is. I mean, I don't know. He's just as trustworthy as Hunter Henry to me. Who else?
If
Richard?
you,
Go ahead.
sorry, yeah, I was just gonna say, if you need steady Eddie, T.J. Hawkinson. I'm just looking at him in PPR leagues. Over 6 weeks, compared to his projections, he's beat his projections by 2 points over all of 6 weeks. So if you need somebody steady that you can just plug and say whatever, everybody sucks, go Hawkinson.
That's a good call.
I was gonna say too. I know we talked. I mean, every single week we just absolutely eviscerate tight ends and how bad they are and everything. I think now, Zach, we talked about him yesterday. I'm going to talk Harrison Bryant into being one of the best tight ends in the league. You and Tanner talked me into him last week or yesterday. I just picked him up, and I will ride Harrison Bryant for the rest of the year. Someone's catching the ball in Cleveland. It's going to be him and Higgins. Not sexy names, not big names. Baker Mayfield's got to throw to someone. Harrison Bryant will finish the year as top 10 tight end, in my opinion.
I brought up, I think that's fair. I think he continues to have a role, whether Hooper's back or not. I was just looking at consistency rankings here for tight ends, and it looks like Jared Cook may be one of the most consistent tight ends in the league. I currently have him for this week at tight end 9, same as the consensus. Not an easy matchup against Chicago, but it's not a scary one for the position. He was tight end 8 last time out, tight end 6 the time before that. He had a bad game against Green Bay, but aside from that, tight end 11, tight end 18 in his first 2 games. Double-digit fantasy points in 3 of his 5 games. I think he's fairly consistent. The problem is his targets aren't very high. So, I don't know, is that false consistency? Is that more of a mirage, or is he just going to get a big play every game? I don't know. And I don't think anyone really knows.
I might have just missed what you said there, but did Jared Cook score last week?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so. Yes, he did.
Okay. Because I always fall into this trap every week. It's just a Jared Cook week. It never is a Jared Cook week. Is this a Jared Cook week? Probably not, but I'll try to speak into existence for all the Jared Cook owners out there. Start Jared Cook this week. The Chicago's got a good rush defense. Seems like a good opportunity for Drew Brees to run some little play action, get Jared Cook on some stick routes, on some goal line fade, something like that. I think Jared Cook might have a decent week this week.
He might. You're right. He may. I'm ranking him as such, I guess. One player who I think is going to have a good week, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to talk myself into putting him as top 5, is Richard Rodgers. Clearly, Philadelphia uses their tight ends. Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz are both out. They play Dallas. That's probably the biggest selling point here. I have him ranked 7th. That's 4 spots higher than the consensus. If we need to rank tight ends based on yards they're going to get, he just put up 85 yards against the Giants, who I think are legitimately good against tight ends. Dallas isn't legitimately good at anything. I think he's going to be involved, and I think he is a lock for top 10. I'm pretty sure. It just feels dirty. I think I'm going to put him at tight end 4, though, above Mark Andrews and Hunter Henry. What a year. What a year.
You got to think so, too, because the opportunities are there, like you said, against a bad Dallas defense. The thing that I want to kind of get in with the Eagles here is if Dallas Goedert's on the waiver wire for you, he needs to be on your team. If you don't like him, the selling point here is that he plays Dallas week 16, and that's like the fantasy football championship for most leagues. I mean, that's a winning championship right there. If you have just at least stash him for the week. If Richard Rodgers is this high, imagine what Dallas Goedert is when he comes back.
Right.
So yeah, they're both going to get opportunities when against the Dallas defense. But Dallas Goedert is the play here for the rest of the year as you go along. We talk about how bad tight ends are. There is one on the waiver wire. He's only owned in 25% of leagues. That's going to contribute for you for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I understand not wanting to stash a tight end that's not playing on your bench, just because a lot of people are sort of just streaming tight ends at this point. Yeah, if you know he's going to be a top 10 guy when they come back, he is going to be a difference maker at the position for you. I think you got to pick him up. There's no reason why he needs to be, or he shouldn't be owned in at least half of leagues. The tight end I'm more high on than anybody else this week, compared to the consensus, is Irv Smith Jr. for the Vikings. I have him at tight end 16, which is 9 spots higher than the consensus. He is getting the ball right now. The Vikings have made it a point to get him the football. 5 targets in both of his last games, 4 catches in back-to-back games, 64 yards and 55 yards. Even with no touchdowns, that's been tight end 13 and tight end 11. Green Bay is not a great matchup, but we've talked about how the Packers should smash the Vikings, so the Vikings should be passing. Alexander's probably going to lock down Adam Thielen, so Justin Jefferson should have a good game, but I also think Irv Smith's going to have a good game. And again, I have just as much confidence in him as I do Noah Fant, Rob Gronkowski, Hunter Henry. I don't know if he's a big touchdown threat, but I think he's going to get yards.
So I have Trey Burton. I picked him up because I had Dalton Schultz, who looked amazing, and then Prescott left, and there goes all his relevance. Do I keep Burton, or do I maybe pick up Irv Smith? Because Burton's been very needing the touchdowns a lot more.
Trey Burton or Irv Smith? Or Schultz?
Yeah. Trey Burton or Irv Smith.
You can go, Luke.
Yeah, I think, obviously Trey Burton's been in the league longer. He's a veteran. You kind of somewhat know what you're going to get out of him. My big thing with Irv Smith, when we talked about last night, is this Minnesota team seems like it's going to be, a tank year. What better way for a rookie to shine in a bad offense? I think that Minnesota tries to work the ball to Irv Smith as much as they can. See if he's, it almost seems to me like he might have a great end of the year, and people are going to be drafting him in like the 6th, 7th rounds in fantasy football next year. I think Minnesota will try to, why not try to at least get someone going? They're doing it with Justin Jefferson. Seems like it'd be another perfect opportunity to do it with Irv Smith. That's why I like Irv Smith going forward. But Trey Burton, they use him in different roles. You kind of know, like we said yesterday, he gets 3 catches for 40 yards, and that's a top 10 tight end week. So it's kind of a horse apiece based on what you know compared to what you don't know. If you want to take a risk, I say Irv Smith, go for it.
Yeah, I like Irv Smith long-term more as well. We talked about his schedule last night, but after the Packers this week, he's got the Lions, Bears, who are bad against tight ends, the Cowboys, the Panthers, then the Jaguars. I think he can go on a run and have pretty good production there. Again, I don't know if he's a big touchdown threat for them because once again, the red zone, I would assume they play a lot more Kyle Rudolph there. But I don't know. I think Irv Smith has a chance at fantasy relevance at this position.
I'm all in. Added him, dropped Burton because I'm already supposed to win by 30. So if he loses me that, we'll take it. So.
Yeah. Any other tight ends you guys would like to talk about?
I don't think so. I did want to. I know this isn't tight end. I did want to bring up something though. Just for another question on a receiver, we talked about how New England. This seems like a get back Cam Newton back into the rhythm, hit some short passes, see what he can do. Do you think that plays well for Julian Edelman this week? Do you think it could be like a flex option this week?
I think he has to be. It's tough to have any confidence in these pass catchers for New England, but if New England needs to get back to what they do well and get back to playing Patriots football, it just seems like they have to start with Julian Edelman. He's clearly the best receiver out of what they have. Again, not saying much, but it seems like Julian Edelman and James White could be pretty active this week, just on little dink and dunk routes.
I would agree too. I was really high on Damiere Byrd because he got the targets. But once Cam forgot how to throw the football, that kind of goes away. So you need that guy over the middle, that Edelman, that veteran.
Agreed. Not that you need to hold on to either player, but I would rather have Damiere Byrd over N'Keal Harry right now still. Only other tight end I guess I'm going to bring up, just because I'm 9 spots lower on him, and the trend continues, Robert Tonyan. I have him at 21. Consensus is 12. While I have said anyone can rank top 10 for tight ends, I just don't think Tonyan can. I don't think he has the snaps. I think the Packers dominate, which means I think they run a lot of Mercedes Lewis to block, and that's it. So if Robert Tonyan's not going to be in there like he hasn't been the past couple weeks, as we broke down, as we predicted, as we actually analyzed compared to everybody else still drooling over a 3-touchdown game, we use logic here, and I apologize for it. It's kind of a buzzkill sometimes. Sometimes logic gets placed on Todd Gurley scoring multiple touchdowns, which, hey, I guess you guys, congratulations. Robert Tonyan's not going to do anything. Could he catch a touchdown? Sure. But more likely than not, he's going to be outside the top 20.
It doesn't help either that Allen Lazard is coming back to practice, too.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, they might not need him. I mean, they could literally throw at Devontae alone, say they're passing, and still find him wide open against this defense. So,
completely agreed. The one game he went off is a game where they needed him. Literally nobody else there.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on rankings week 8? Guys you like, guys you hate overall?
I don't know the answer to what this question is going to be. It seems, I don't know. We talked about Trevor, you talked about how T. Hawkinson has been kind of consistent. He's caught a couple touchdowns in a row here. Would you go as far to start him over Mark Andrews this week against a solid Pittsburgh defense?
Yeah. I mean, like always, I'll always say, wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, you look for the points. Kickers sometimes go for the points. Defense sometimes go for the points, but tight ends, you just don't want to put up a goose egg. And he's a guy that's going to at least get looks. And for some tight ends, they don't even get looks. I don't trust Lamar's arm, so I'd go Hockenson every game because I'd rather have a guy put up 8 every week than a guy either give me 20 or 0.
That's fair. And I don't think there's a wrong answer here with, talking about do I start one tight end or over the other. But I'm more afraid of the Colts defense than the Ravens, or than the Steelers, rather. I think the Steelers are really good, especially against the run. I think the Colts are really good at pretty much everything. So I think Hawkinson actually has the tougher matchup. He's more of a middle of the field weapon than Mark Andrews is, so he has that going for him. I would slightly rather have Andrews in there, but yeah, I'm not going to push hard for either player.
You know what that means? Hockenson touchdown. I won't say 2, but
I'll say
Hockenson
2.
touchdown.
I'm sure the odds on that over instead of Todd Gurley are much better. Yeah, I mean, you can follow us. Our Twitters are below our heads here. You can follow Flurry Sports on Twitter, Flurry Sports on Facebook. Go to the Flurry Sports YouTube page, subscribe, so we can say, hey, go to youtube.com/Flurry Sports. We need more subscribers to be able to do that, so go help us out there. If you guys are interested in a survivor pool, me on Twitter, we are putting that together right now, a second chance survivor pool, since with 2020, that first one ended pretty quickly, so we're doing another one here. Yeah, we should have a ton of fun watching the Falcons lose tomorrow night somehow, in new creative way.
And with that, the girly guys will ride off into the sunset.
We need to get like a little jingle or whatever to play every time a girly guy segment comes on here. I may actually know someone who could do that, so I'll check that. But for next time, tomorrow, Thursday night before the game starts, we have a start-sit stream right here. Follow that, and we will see you all then. Later.